What is a simple thing everyone should know? I said. How to say no. York and Megarkin said. I wish I could give you more upvotes, this is important. Some people close to me have a terrible time saying no, and it's hard to watch them get used by others. I used to be similar and finally started standing up for myself. This was a difficult process but restored my life to my control. I still try to be helpful, friendly, and cooperative, especially to my friends, but no longer to my own detriment. All thanks to no. Double Stitch said. Never try to put out a grease fire with water. Grease floats on water, that just spreads the fire. A fire extinguisher is good. If you don't have an extinguisher, then throw baking soda on the grease fire. Baking soda is inexpensive and has a lot of other uses: baking, cleaning. It's always worthwhile to have a box of baking soda. Politics Doxy said. Never stop dating your husband. Mud Hotel said. If you have an argument with your significant other, be sure to attack the problem, not each other. Tutorkaj said, when I need to remember something and I don't have a pen and paper handy, I put some item in a place where it doesn't belong. For example, say at night before sleepy time I need to remember to do X tomorrow. I throw a box of tissue on the floor in the middle of the room. Next morning I see the tissue box and wonder what the hell, then I remember, oh yeah, gotta do X. Emmy Madia said. This one time, I caught a leprechaun and made him show me where his gold was, but I didn't have a shovel, so I put my hat down on the plot indicated by the leprechaun. I made him promise that he wouldn't touch my hat while I was out looking for my shovel. I knew leprechauns were honest to a fault, so I trusted him as I ran back to the farmhouse. I got a shovel, ran back to the clearing where the gold was as fast as my legs would go, and wouldn't you know it, the entire forest floor was covered with exact replicas of my hat. Killer Cot Club said. A big thing that helped me with this was thinking, how often do I think about, and when I think about them, what do I think about? The answer is that usually when I think about someone else, I'll think about what they could be thinking about me. Then it wasn't so hard to accept that most people don't think too much about others. A Mean Cow said. Also, everyone else is faking it and feels like they're an imposter as well. If you interact with more than a couple people, chances are at least one of them has as much, if not worse, anxiety than you and is also hiding it. People will not remember any of this in a month. Not a decade, not years. A month tops. Whatever embarrassment you experience, whatever mistake you make at work or school or around your peers, it will all dissolve in the unstoppable wake of time almost immediately. Say what's on your mind. If something is bothering you about something, it's likely bothering someone else as well. You can literally wear the same thing every day, and the kinds of people who would actually notice this and judge it negatively are not worth your consideration. Mental health care is no different than physical health care. Even separating them by deciding there's a difference between mental and physical does a great disservice to the achievements we've made as a species to care for mental injuries and disorders. The internet and the people on it who make you feel better are hurting your progress in life. Stop thinking about it or trying to share things with strangers. It's addicting and as harmful as any drug. In 100 years you'll be incredibly lucky if even your name is recorded anywhere or anyone knows who you were. Given that you will inevitably return to dust and be dead for an infinite amount of time, are you doing everything you can with the moment you have? Ask for the raise. Change majors. Go on that trip. Ask her out. Mr. Sleepy said. I wish more people understood this. I am someone who finds myself in a leadership role often. I don't think I'm an anxious person or anything. I don't overworry about how other people perceive me, but I'm keenly aware that when I am in a leadership role, how other people feel about me directly impacts the mission of whatever it is we're doing, and I work very hard to earn the trust of the people I lead. Too many leaders have this "I don't care what people think" attitude about leadership. They even talk about how that attitude is necessary for success, and they're just flat out wrong. If you don't care how people perceive you as a leader, I guarantee you're not a very good one. Torque Alive said. If you paid hard-earned money to sit in a dark room and watch a movie with a number of other people that did the same, be an example and shut the fuck up. Lair Boozer said. You only need a pea-sized amount of toothpaste when you brush. Stop wasting yo tubes. Cobb Glob said. If someone's answer is no followed by an excuse, especially one containing a problem, the answer is no, and the excuse is an attempt to spare your feelings. Offering solutions to the problem or minimizing it is not going to score you any points. #def true false said. Yeah, this. I often want to say no flat out, but find myself making an excuse to soften the blow. I actually found a good solution to this if you're the excuse giver in the scenario. I've started saying no, and when asked why, I say I'm just not feeling like it at the moment. It makes it seem like the problem is me, my feelings and the time, rather than them or what they asked. It also gives them nothing much to solve with suggestions. Sometimes, you just get the occasional "come on, it'll be fine, fun, etc." But then you just repeat. It doesn't ever go beyond one repetition in my experience. Hope this can be useful to fellow excuse givers who don't like lending out their possessions or attending things that bore them. Murmuripe said. When you merge, you need to be going the same speed as traffic. When you get into the acceleration lane, you accelerate. Find a gap, match speed with it, signal, and ease over. If you slow down or brake in the merged lane, you are an asshole, and you're fucking everyone's shit up. Cool Dark Place said. Amen. Got stuck under an overpass for 5 minutes in morning rush hour traffic because the asshat in front of me hit his brakes, missing his gap, and then shooting right into what would have been mine. Finally, a kind soul saw me stuck under the overpass, and slowed down enough for me to get back on the freeway. Also, for the love of God, use your signals. When I used to have motorcycle, I finally got to where I could usually anticipate lane changes by watching people's heads, cause you sure can't rely on them signaling. NC drivers are the worst for this. Travel Surveykid said. My mom told me when I was about 5 years old it's better to take a bullet to the head in the parking lot than find out what they will do to you when they take you away. Seems insanely raw to say to a kid, but to this day I am aware of the potential danger in a car parked next to mine with heavily tinted windows, or the value in locking your car doors the second you get inside, even in broad daylight. Some of my friends seem to think I'm paranoid, but it's really just habit to be aware of my surroundings. Stranger Feelings said. To add to this, bite and scratch, and pull hair. If you are unfortunately killed, then at least you will mark the victim, bite, and possibly give them an infection from a bite wound. Then they will need to go to the hospital, which the bite will get questions, and found out. The scratching and pulling their hair will leave DNA. Kick, scream, and make a scene. Do not let them take you to a secondary location. Make as much noise as possible. The attacker will either run, or others may stop at call 911. Draken Islami said. If you see someone start to choke and they are coughing, don't touch them. As long as they can cough, they can breathe, and therefore the airway is unobstructed. Most people would slap someone on the back at this point, but by doing so you could cause the obstruction to move further down and block the person's airway completely. Best thing to do is stand by and wait. If they start to really choke, they will stop coughing. That's when you perform the Heimlich maneuver, which you should learn along with CPR. Richest Dangerous said. When you're at a party, this is assuming you have friends and are sociable, and you spill red wine or whatever other beverage on the carpet, do not fret. Quickly grab a glass of warm water and a towel. Pour the water directly on the spill. Next, place the towel onto the spill, do not rub a stain in. Simply step on the towel and walk back and forth for about 10-15 seconds. The towel will soak up the water and the spilled beverage, and there will be virtually no stain left behind. Big Tip Guy said. Life isn't a movie. You're not always going to be successful if you never give up. Not everything is going to go your way if you believe hard enough. Life is rough, chaotic, random. The best thing you can do is whatever you need to do. Whatever is best for you. Be selfish, be selfless, do the wrong thing or the right thing, or both, as long as it's not too wrong. If it doesn't work out, that's that. Give up if you have to. Sometimes it is better to cut your losses. But find a reason to keep going anyway, because you've got your time here, might as well use it. Uncoolkit said. This is even more important if you live in an area where there's ice and snow, because vehicles can become even less visible. Sometimes snow will get packed all over the back of a car while driving, and if it's snowing they can be very difficult to see. That snow can even get packed right over tail lights, But if your lights are on, the tiny bit of heat emitted from the bulbs is often enough to melt its snow away and keep the tail lights visible. This also makes passing other cars significantly safer when on roads that are only 2 lanes with opposing traffic. Sasson 2077 said, abortion is the medical term for the end of a pregnancy. It means any ending, not just elective. Elective abortion is a medical term that includes ending a pregnancy because the fetus isn't compatible with life, medically indicated because mom is too sick to carry to term safely, and everyone is healthy and the pregnancy isn't wanted at this time. Spontaneous abortion is a medical term for a pregnancy ending without medical intervention. This includes violence to the woman carrying the pregnancy, pregnancy loss in the first 4-8 weeks, it is any loss before 20 weeks, typically. Loss of a term, 37-40 week, pregnancy also known as stillbirth or miscarriage is also called abortion for statistical reporting, and in medical records. In medicine we don't care why the pregnancy is ending, we have to report them all the same. This is both protective and misleading in statistics. Most people have no idea, but they should because this impacts healthcare and laws. Gildweb said that you may never know what it's like to have a certain mental disability, an anxiety, fear or experience. All you have to be aware of is that you don't understand it, no matter how much information you may have. I had a little moment around 2 years ago when I finally got this. And I guess that in itself isn't something you can particularly describe to someone either. Just try to get it through to them that best way of understanding is to not understand. So don't judge based on the processes of your mind. It won't be doing anyone justice. Ronnie 1224 said, people do not care about you. I mean this in the broadest extent possible. When you are walking around worried about how you look around, nobody is looking at you. The friends that you were best friends with 5 years ago aren't your friends when the context changes. The people you work with do not care about what happens to you. Once you realize this, you can focus on yourself and what makes you happy in the small group of people who are important to you. Uncommon Commoner said, how to cook simple recipes. I will say that the easiest, most filling and long-lasting meal you can make is rice and beans. 2 cups of rice and a couple cans of beans can go a long way if you're single or a couple. Like I said, 2 cups of rice, 2 cans of beans, and I use diced tomatoes too. Season them however you want. I go all out with paprika, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, and cumin, and it all goes great with a grilled cheese sandwich. Linnery said, how bra sizes work. Measure your under bust, right below the bust. Let's use 30 inches as an example. Measure the fullest part of your bust, often around the nip. Let's say you got 34 inches. Subtract under bust from bust 34-30 equals 4. A 4-inch difference equals D cup, because D is the 4th letter. Since your under bust measurement is 30, your bra size is 30D. Note, most stores will tell you to add 4 inches to your under bust. This phenomenon is called the +4 method. That would make your bra size 34AA in their sizes. Do not listen to them. That is not your size, and a 30D is much more likely to fit. Second note, for Europeans, if your under bust measurement is 76 centimeters, 29.98 inches, you might be told by size charts to wear size 75. But European size 75 equals size 34. This is because European sizes have +4 sizing built into the system. Size 30 equals size 65, so with a 75 centimeter under bust you'll need size 65. Is this too much math for you? Same. Put your measurements into this calculator instead. It could be more accurate than the simplified method I described, especially for bigger busts. GamerZoom108 said, all of these are very important. Plunger. Very useful tool. Plunging toilets and makes for a fun toy, assuming your kids steal it like I did and use it like a sword. Fire is always a possibility, always good to be prepared. I think any legal firearm works. Personally, the kickback on a shotgun hurts my shoulder. I'm weak, okay, but a handgun does the same. If worst comes to worst, it's always good to have a weapon where you know it exists. 4+5. Emergency rations are good just in case you're stuck and can't get food. I'd also say a radio. Posthale Dispenser said that love, lust, and limerence are separate things, and relationships are supposed to be based on love, not limerence or lust. Limerence is when you feel gaga for someone. It's being in love with someone. It's a hormonal effect that comes and goes throughout life. Our culture goes way too far trying to idealize it, but it's not inherently better or more noble than lust, and certainly isn't as noble as love. In fact, most of the time it's like insanity. Lust is just lust. We all need to get over it. If someone gets horny, it's like they're craving drugs. It's not love, nor is it limerence, but it can happen at the same time as the other two. Having all three at once does not mean you have perfect love and should be married. Marriage should be about love and commitment. People shouldn't enter into marriage believing they will feel love, lust, and or limerence throughout. They will come and go. Love is something you can actually choose to have for someone. You don't have to wait for it like rain. People need to be taught this stuff very early in life so they don't fuck up their lives with the confusion. The Witcher 48 said, "You can measure objects with your hands. Get familiar with the lengths at different points of your hand, such as the length of each finger crease, fingers, palm creases, and the hand itself. If the object is longer than your entire hand, you can simply place your other hand underneath your first hand to continue the measurement, and so forth." Status Count 2697 said, "Be kind to retail workers and wait staff. You have no right to treat them as any less of a person just because you feel that you are above them. You're not. Retail works, specifically grocery store workers, are the reason you are able to get the items you want at the store. Whether that is because they can help you find the items you are looking for, stock the shelves, or simply wring you out at the end. As for the waitstaff, these people are giving you their best as a way to present the restaurant they work at and themselves. They are doing everything they can to make sure you are having a great experience. Please, 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 be kind to these groups of people, otherwise a retail work has every right to trail you through each aisle to waste your time, and the server has every right to make sure you get your meal after the people who were seated after you. Good day to you all." Mustard on Tap said, "City-specific post. New York City does not run or manage the subway system. The state of NY runs the subway through the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, MTA. And it isn't really a state agency either. It is an authority, which is an odd type of public-private institution. The mayor and the city have no direct control over the subway system. Posting cause I hear so many people say the city mayor need to fix insert subway problem here when they have almost no power to do so. All the poor management comes from Albany." Wolfab said, "That not everyone who disagrees with you is evil. Sometimes it's a matter of perspective or lack of information. You might be right, they may be right. If we respect others, we can open up the opportunity to sit down and talk. When being shown you're wrong, being willing to swallow your pride and admit you were wrong shows respect and helps you grow as a person. My opinions have radically changed since I started doing this, and I've made good friends with even people I disagree with because we have a mutual respect for each other." R21 said, "Just because someone has it harder than you doesn't mean your problems aren't worth working on talking about. You're allowed to complain about your problems and you're allowed to ask for help. The fact that others are going through stuff as well is not gonna magic away your issues. They'll still be there and you'll still have to suffer through it. Stop comparing experiences. It's not a competition. There's always gonna be people who have it worse, but that shouldn't determine whether or not your hardships are valid, no matter the severity." Big Tim Head said, "How credit cards work. I used to represent credit card companies and collection agencies in court, and I was shocked by how many defendants found themselves in court because they didn't understand, among other things, that the money they spent using a credit card had to be paid back to the credit card company. A defendant once complained to me that the credit card company never provided her with a payment plan. I held up their stack of delinquent credit card bills and said, 'This was your payment plan. Unbelievable.